Joseph W. Brady's first message of 2023 touches upon an unusual beginning of the new year and significant passings internationally and locally in 2022.
You know, I think when you think about the new year, it was kind of weird because Sunday was New Year's Day, so no college football, no parades. You know, I mean, that was kind of hard to digest. You know, I thought there were some good games yesterday. I was obviously disappointed that USC didn't play well. You know, twice they've gotten spanked, so obviously I think their defense kind of, you know, played the key. But you know, I think for those that saw the Cincinnati Buffalo game on Monday night, I don't think I've ever seen something like that, and hopefully I would never see it again. I don't think that anybody knew at the time that Mr. Hamlin had cardiac arrest. And so now I think if you put it back in retrospect, why the teams were so quiet, why they decided to go in the locker room, I think it was a great call. It was nice to see that the NFL, that the union with the NFL decided to call it. I think that everybody in America thought there's just no way you're going to play this game. And now knowing that it was cardiac arrest, I think really kind of made a lot of sense. You know, the political side, I think that the Republicans have made an absolute bunch of asses out of themselves. I've been Republican. I'm really thinking about seriously registering as an independent. I haven't done that yet. So for those that are watching, don't go count your. I was struck when I had somebody from the San Bernardino County GOP this week correct me and tell me why I didn't get the endorsement. One of the reasons I didn't get the endorsement because I support Democrats. So I supported Barbara Dew, who is in the Victor Valley Union High School District. I mean, like forever. I've known her and Lionel. Everybody knows that they're Democrat. But, you know, Terry, in the education business, you know, if you sit on a park board, a school board, a water board, a cemetery board, you know, people don't elect you because you're Republican, Democrat. They elect you because you're the both candidates. When I ran for Victor Valley Community College District this last time, I didn't say, well, Blanca Gomez was a Democrat and I was a Republican. People want to hire the best people possible. So I was really taken back when a local leader up here in the High Desert region, I'm going to keep her name out of this at this point, so that one of the reasons that I didn't get it was that they were able to, her and Dakota Higgins, so those that have watched prior can figure out who it was, that I supported Barbara Dew, which I would do all over again, and I had her signs all over the front of my house, the back of my house. You know, I like Barbara. Barbara and I can argue about education, but the one thing we care about is student success, student outcomes, and having an educated community. Then I think the bigger surprise was this person that accused me of that my friend Chico Garza. You know Chico. I mean, everybody knows Chico on up here. Chico is, I call him my Hispanic brother. He had told me many years ago when him and Liliana had gotten together, best thing that ever happened for both of them, best thing that ever happened for him, that if something ever happened and they wanted somebody to take care of their kids, that they had nominated Deb and I to do that. It's like one of the highest compliments you can get. So for this person to tell me that he was a Democrat, okay, so hadn't talked to him in a couple weeks, so I called him up on New Year's Eve and I said, hey, I understand you're a Democrat. He said, Joe, I'm an independent. You know, now here's a guy who has, so this is, I think, going to put a lot of egg on the face of a lot of people now at the GOP. I thought that, you know, Phil Cawthorn has done a very poor job in his leadership. There are a lot of people down there that are very unhappy. I have met with a good number so far. I have people call me all the time. I'll be communicating what I need to at the appropriate time, and when I do, it'll be thorough. But when you have people do this at the Republican Party in a local standpoint, okay, after we helped create the Young Republicans 34 years ago and the Lincoln Club, blah, 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 what does it tell you about what's going on nationally? You know, whether Kevin has 3 votes or 4 votes or 5 votes, at the time that we're recording this on Tuesday afternoon, he's had 3 votes. That sends a message that we are broken. And what I said to our great Congressman Jay Obernolte in a text this afternoon, this is not only going to cost the Republican Party, this is going to cost them in 2024. We've taken 5 steps back because you've got 15, 20, Republicans, and I understand everybody wants to hold their feet to the fire. I like to do the same thing when I was kind of involved in that. But I think that we've gone way too far. I think we've gone way too far on both sides. And so for my Democratic friends who are watching us, and I have a lot of them. So you take John R. Pinkerton, Sharon Pinkerton, great friends. He's like my brother. Okay, left-wing socialistic Democrat. I still love the guy. Why? Because we learned how to work together. Okay, I think that's where this R designation and I think sometimes people are almost better to be an independent and be able to vote the way they want without having to deal. So I hope this year is going to be a great year. I'm expecting that it will. We heard from Brightline last week that they'll be filling out their application for their hopefully federal grant in March. I did see, because I get a periodical called Trains, which I just started to get. I should have gotten it back. We have a friend of ours, Nick DiCasolo, that works for Cole Banker, that it's a big train buff, and so is Linda Gommel. But I was reading in there recently that they had the feds had awarded $9 billion to the Northeast, in which we had been told this is how it's going to happen. The Northeast will go first, Amtrak will go, then monies will come out to California. So I really think that that's a real deal. You and I had talked about in last week's segment about infrastructure. Rumor has it that Dakota Higgins is not going to take over from where Paul Cook may have. So what the rumor is, so this stops the rumor, okay, by putting this out, that Paul Cook, who I can't seem to get on the phone or seem to get a meeting with, just absolutely crazy, our supervisor, who they say is never even around, was going to retire early, health issues, whatever, give it to Dakota. Dakota's never created a job, and then all of a sudden I heard that Smitty may run. So I reached out to Smitty last week and said, listen, we've had good times, bad times. Let's sit down and chit chat. So Smitty, I would tell you like I would tell anybody else. I'm at that age where I'm not looking for political favors, and I don't need political favors. But I think the one thing that we need to do is if we're going to support a supervisor for the first district, that they need to be somebody that has been in business, has created jobs, okay, has been sued. Okay, and until you've been sued, you really don't know what it's really like. And most importantly, I think that infrastructure needs to be one of the bigger issues. And Terry, we did that segment last week, and I'll give you the name of the book that we're going to put out. And most importantly, that they be a part of trying to figure out this Cajon Pass. There are, the last time the city of Hesperia did their analysis back when Lisa Lemire was here back in, I think it was 2007, they figured there are about 85,000 people that travel up and down that hill every single day. And it's getting worse, it's getting worse, it's getting worse. When Deb and I go down below more times to the desert for a couple days, we just cut through Yucca Valley. It takes 15 minutes longer. It's peaceful. You don't have these idiots that are driving up. So I really hope that whoever puts their name in for supervisor thinks about this infrastructure issue that we need to get, not talk about it, but really need to get it. And I think, kind of very similar to what the Republicans are going through. They want to have a platform where they can actually count on their leader to actually do something. So I think housing is going to come back. I don't think that housing is going to take the crap that people thought that it would. Some people believe it's going to bottom out by the second part of the second quarter. Industrial is still moving along. I think the one issue that the industrial developers are starting to run into is that there's not enough power. The BNSF project's still moving along. The brokers that we deal with are still as busy as they've ever been. So we ended up having a great year. Paul Casilla had a great year. I'm happy our staff had a good year. So I think things are good. I think that there are more things broken back in Washington, and that translates how people think about their future, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. If I was a Democrat, I'd be laughing all the way to the bank, going, these guys just can't get it right. So yeah.
A lot of significant passings of prominent people in 2022. Joseph, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, we lost the Queen. Deb and I happened to be over in Ireland when she passed, and we were over in Ireland when she was buried. So the morning that she was buried, all of us were flying out of Belfast City into Heathrow. And then through there, we ended up in Heathrow 10 minutes after her service started. But, Terry, again, this is the Sun newspaper. So I don't like to be morbid, but I do like to acknowledge those people that we all have heroes. We all have people that we've looked up to. And how many times now on your phone do you see a name of somebody and the next thing you know it says want to pass away? So these are people who were very prominent in 2022 that I want to acknowledge that somehow impacted my lives a little bit. Dan Reeves, football coach, 4 Super Bowl. He lost 4 Super Bowls. Sidney Poitier, 94 years old, first black actor to win an Oscar. I mean, the guy was a rock star. Meatloaf, 74 years old. Wow. Betty Davis. I mean, these are Bill Russell. Okay, so we can both relate as athletes. Absolutely. And I'll tell you one thing: he was not a guy that you want to get in front of. I mean, he was absolutely determined. But the days of sitting down on a Sunday morning, after church and watching the Lakers play the Celtics in the Garden on that parquet floor and watching Havlicek. I mean, it was Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, and we had a couple players. We had Chamberlain, we had Chamberlain. They had Russell. So yeah, I mean, great guy. Sonny Barger, Ivana Trump, Tony Dow, Bill Russell again, Vin Scully, 94 years old. I mean, as a kid, I grew up listening to Vin Scully. I mean, I don't know about you, but as a kid, we would go to Dodger Stadium, and everybody had a radio. It was kind of the Olivia Newton-John. What a gorgeous lady. Lynn Dawson. I mean, great for football. Loretta Lynn. 90 years old. I mean, Jerry Lee Lewis. John Aniston. I always call Jennifer Aniston my other girlfriend. So whenever she's on TV, Joe says, "Joe, your other girlfriend's on TV." Kirstie Alley, Franco Harris, Barbara Walters, and our former Pope, Benedict. I'm sad about Barbara Walters. She really did a lot. I'll tell you one thing. When I watched some of the reruns of things that she did, man, did she have guts? She had guts. I mean, and I think that today these reporters have to be so politically correct in what they do and what they say. And then locally, I want to acknowledge a couple of people who really, we know well. And they lost Gwen Beddix with Alaska USA, lost her mom. Roberto Torres lost his sister Sandria. Soon Rick Moore, mom and her mother-in-law Loretta. So Sue was with us forever doing our social media. Just a great lady. She just recently retired. Glenn Ludwig lost his wife Pearl. Derek King, his grandfather Bobby Newman Sr. Debbie Johannes, Jim Johannes. I don't know if you knew Jim. He was in the flooring business. When I came here, he was in, I think, the home building business. Michelle Nakata, she lost Eric. What a great guy and what a great job. John and Suzanne Maddox, they unfortunately lost their second son. Carlos Vizcaíno, Arthur Roop. So Arthur, we did work for. Arthur died, I think he was 104. He had the Roop Foundation in Santa Barbara. He was very famous. We did a bunch of work for him on land out here. Just a wonderful guy. He would send us old-fashioned letters. I mean, they came out and they were crisp. The letter was just crisp. His signature was crisp. And whenever he communicated, he was not a guy that wanted to do email. He'd pick up the phone and call you and tell you kind of what it is. Dennis and Martis Killian Dennis Killian lost his dad. Carolyn Johnson, that she's with NBC down in LA. She is a really good friend of my mom's. My mom had a friend by the name of Winnie Parker, and Winnie and her mom, Carolyn's mom, she did say that Chuck Henry, she works with Chuck Henry, that Chuck is now retired, and if we can find the right the right nonprofit up here, that they may come up and help us. Charity and Gabriel Reyes. So Gabriel is the mayor. He lost his mother-in-law and then her mom. Susan Porter lost her dad. Dwayne Moyers was Arizona Pipeline. Didn't know him well, but I mean, you drive around, you just see Arizona Pipeline everywhere. And it was kind of funny. When I read this story that the Daily Press did, the name Arizona came up. I guess he was down in Arizona when he had to file some papers. He didn't know what to call it, so he called Arizona Pipeline. I thought, well, that's pretty good. Robert and Jennifer Starbuck had a loss, and I know that John and Lavana Hulterstrom lost their daughter. I'm just going through here. I mean, we just Tom Thompson, who does electrical work for us. His dad Dwayne was in the real estate business. Reed Kiplinger, who was well known up here. I think that you knew him. He passed away. Greg and me Miroff with Greg's Carpet lost their son. A guy who I would always look up to for information on the Marriott Vacation Club, Dale Colley, passed. Had a massive right in his house one day, and so and then Bruce and Michelle Painter. I mean, she lost her mom and her father this year, which was sad. I mean, you don't want to lose both of them. So, with that, I just want to say that we should all be lucky. When you see somebody, when you promise somebody that you're going to go do something, do it. One of my biggest regrets in life was my former neighbor, Lou and Florence Webb. They lived next door, and Louis, I promised him we'd play golf for all the years that he lived there, and I was always too busy, and all of a sudden Louis was gone one day, and the only memories I've got are his house and his nephew or his grandson Scott, who works at the city of Victorville. So when you say to somebody, I'm going to give you a call, I'm going to go out and have lunch, call them and go out and have lunch. You never know when that day is calling, and hopefully we'll have a lot less this year. I do want to give a little plug, Joe, and this is not a plug. I wouldn't be on the Victor Valley Community College Board of Trustees without the emphatic work and the 13 probably motions that Joe Range made with Lori Denson. And he unfortunately passed, and I believe that their services are going to be January 28th at Sunset Hills, so I would suggest taking a look at that. He was a real good guy. The students the student building that we built out, the one stop center, that was really built with his urging and his pushing, and that's what it takes. So thanks.